Stock, known as DJ Juarez, has appeared before the Joburg Magistrates Court. Amido Pakula, a 25-year-old Mozambican national, is facing charges of murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and contravention of the Immigration Act. Pakula has opted for legal aid representation and will opt to apply for bail despite allegedly being illegally in the country. He was arrested by members of the Gauteng Provincial Investigation Unit on Friday evening at an informal settlement in Primrose on the East Rand. We'll have more details on this story in our upcoming bulletins. Staying the courts, the gunman linked to last month's mass shooting at a tavern in Cape Town is expected to appear in the Athlone Magistrates Court. Mandy was allegedly among the trio that targeted 9 people in Marikana informal settlement in Philippi East. The shooting is believed to be extortion related. Has more.
Mandy is accused of being one of 3 gunmen who shot and killed 9 people at a tavern in the Marikana informal settlement on January 17th. The 19-year-old was arrested in Zwelithemba in Worcester a week later. The teenager confessed to being linked to the deadly mass shooting and has been charged with 9 counts of murder, attempted murder, and 2 counts of robbery with aggravating circumstances. Prosecutors say more charges are expected when he makes his second court appearance this morning. The state adds that it would also oppose his bail bid should he choose to apply. Nene, Eyewitness News.
The state has opposed bail in the murder case of a University of KwaZulu-Natal student allegedly killed by her boyfriend. 23-year-old Cat Matlala will return to the Mdlhanga Magistrates Court to apply for bail today. He was nabbed in December last year after Mdlhanga's body was found stuffed in a suitcase and buried in a house the accused was renting. NPA spokesperson Natasha Kara says prosecutors want the accused to be remanded in custody.
The matter returns to the Mdlhanga Magistrates Court today for a bail application. The accused in this matter is charged with a count of murder. The state is opposed to bail.
And now moving further afield, 4 people have been executed in China for running a scam center. They were linked to the Bai family criminal group. This is the second announcement in less than a week following Beijing's crackdown on cross-border telecom fraud. The crimes included fraud, international homicide, international injury, kidnapping, extortion, and forced prostitution. Last week, 11 people from the Ming family criminal group were executed for the same crimes. Gold's trading at $4,892.50 an ounce. The rand is at 16.13 to the dollar, 22.09 to the pound, 13.19 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $66.99 a barrel. A look at your weather. Partly cloudy Monday in store for Gauteng today with scattered showers and thunder showers expected. Temperatures are set to peak at highs of between 28 and 31 degrees with a cloudy Cape Town along with fresh southeasterly winds peaking at 26 degrees. The top story in Eyewitness News this hour, a new witness at the Mdlhanga Commission of Inquiry, Captain Lawrence Makgotlwe, has given details about ballistic evidence from the murder scene of Vereeniging engineer Ahmed Swart, who was shot 23 times.
856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener on 702 and Cape Talk is brought to you by Nedbank Commercial Banking. Think bigger, think Nedbank Commercial Banking. On the show today, Advocate Andy Mothibi starts his first day of work as NDPP, facing a court challenge to his appointment. A second man appears in court for the DJ Waras murder. A ballistics expert appears at the Mdlhanga Commission. The Epstein files reveal Jacob Zuma's dinner with Jeffrey. And we'll wrap up the weekend sport. All of that over the next hour.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener.
Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app, DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Midday Report on 702 and Cape Talk with me, Mandy Wiener. Good to be with you today. We'll speak about Andy Mothibi's first day in office today as National Director of Public Prosecutions. Advocate Barnabas Xulu has filed an application to prevent him from becoming NDPP. So we'll unpack that. And hey, have you read the story in News 24? It doesn't get crazier, this Cat Matlala story. So Jeff Wicks, who's a national asset, has now told us about how Cat Matlala's wife got this deal, this 2.3, not the Tembisa Hospital one. There was another deal that she got. So she had this grill, like literally a company that was registered as a grill. And then she turned the grill into another company that provides training and skills development programs called Bona Vista Learning Academy. And then she got this 3.7 million rand tender from the Ekurhuleni Metropolitan Municipality. So they found this company that was a grill, and then they turned the grill into a learning academy, and then they got a 3.7 million rand contract. Like, how does this stuff even happen? How do they get away with it? We'll chat to Jeff Wicks about that in a short while. Remember, you can send me a WhatsApp voice note, 072 7021 702, 072 567 1567. We've spoken at length about Shamila Batoy and her tenure as National Director of Public Prosecutions. Last week, I was asking you, what advice for Andy Mothibi as he steps into the job? Well, no easy sailing for Andy Mothibi. He's immediately facing some opposition from a court application. The Justice Minister did put some photos up on Twitter today of Andy Mothibi's first day in the job, where he was introduced to members of the National Prosecuting Authority. But let's unpack this court challenge now with Sinesipo Schreiber, a journalist at Business Day. Sinesipo, good afternoon to you. Thank you very much for making time to chat to us. This didn't just come out of the blue. We know that Barnabas Xulu, the advocate, has already been challenging the whole process of how the NDPP, other candidates were interviewed. Tell us about that and how we came to this challenge today.
A very good afternoon to you, Mandy, and your listeners. Today on Business Day, we focused on this court challenge, which seemingly was a last minute by Barnabas Xulu sort of changing tack into the application, because if you would remember, he had withdrawn the application because his main contention and the whole NDPP interview process, was the candidature of the former NPA ID head, that's Hermione Cranja. That was his main concern there. And that was because Hermione was not given Xulu's objection on time, and therefore could not address it properly during the interview. And that objection is coming from a tender from a long time ago. But after consideration, having withdrawn that application against directly the president of the country, Cyril Ramaphosa, Xulu changed text last minute. Last Thursday, he filed papers of an amended notice challenging the president's appointment of Andy Mothibi, Advocate Andy Mothibi, and his main application is based on procedural unfairness. Xulu's main argument, Mandy, is that the president should have not considered at all the advisory panel's recommendation. This is despite the fact that the recommendation did not actually advise the president to hire any of the 6 candidates. So what Xulu is saying that, in essence, the president, by not appointing any of the 6 candidates, took into consideration the advisory panel's recommendation, which was under litigation at that point. So that is the basis, that is the number of Xulu's legal challenge.
So at issue here really is the process as you explain it, because we saw all of these candidates being interviewed. In the end, none of those candidates that were interviewed were chosen. Andy Motibi was brought in. We tried to get Barnabas Xulu on air today, but he says he's busy preparing for the urgent court. Realistically, what are the prospects of success here, and could it really prevent Andy Motibi from doing his job as NDPP?
So I'm not a legal analyst, but I am a legal reporter. So this legal challenge basically is not going to prohibit Motibi from doing his job. That's why he started his job today. There is not an urgent interdict, but we will get to hear the merits of the case, which is on the procedure. The court has not taken any decision on that. It has not even heard the application. So up until the court decides on what will happen in terms of this case, whether or not the president's appointment of Motibi was lawful or not, he remains on the job. But political analysts or advocates sort of looking at who are commenting on our coverage of this litigation at Business Day, they were saying that it's likely not to succeed. It's going to fail because they're not getting the NAMB in terms of the legalities. Even in his court papers does say that the president is empowered by the Constitution to make the appointment of the head, but he still sort of labors on the point of procedure and fair procedure, the fact that Motibi was not interviewed, so therefore he was not subjected to the same criteria as the other candidates. But the court will make an announcement on this. Whether or not Xulu will be successful, it will determine Motibi's future as the head of the NPA.
Sinasipo, thank you so much for that. Sinasipo Schreiber, journalist at Business Day. You can go and read that story in Business Day today. But essentially, Advocate Barnabas Xulu filing that application to prevent the appointment of the NDPP, amending those court papers to compel him to respond to questions about his controversial appointment. I think that the appointment is controversial in the sense that none of the candidates that were interviewed were actually appointed. I don't think there's anything controversial about Andy Motibi specifically. I think he's a great appointment to the job. We know how well he's done at the SIU. What are your thoughts on that as Andy Motibi takes over? Do you think it's high risk for him? He's done so well at the SIU, and now he steps into this job that we know is a poison chalice. So many of the NDPPs in the past have never fulfilled their full term. He's been appointed for 10 years now. What does he need to do? I think capacitating the NPA is going to be a huge job for him, and getting convictions. I think that's really it.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener is brought to you by Nedbank Commercial Banking. See money differently.
Let's go to the courts now. The man accused of shooting Warwick Stock, known as DJ Warris, appearing before the Joburg Magistrates Court today, a 25-year-old Mozambican national facing charges of murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and contravention of the Immigration Act. Oren Singh, EWN reporter, joining us to talk about that. So this is the second person that's been arrested now, Oren.
Second person, Mandy, and they believe that he is the trigger man. He is the man that shot Warwick Stock on December 16th last year in Joburg CBD 5 times, twice in the abdomen, twice in the chest, and once in the neck. They believe it's him. They believe they've got the right guy. The investigating officer telling me at court that they even found the dreadlocks that he was wearing or had on the day of the murder that he was captured in CCTV camera using, as well as the bag that the gun was concealed in. That was this goldish gift bag that he was carrying. And he's seen in the CCTV.
It's not really subtle. Dreadlocks in a gold gift bag.
Young, Mandy, 25 years old, baby face, it could be said, in court, and doesn't speak a word of English. They had a Portuguese translator in there. He was arrested at Primrose at Marathon Informal Settlement. That's an area that is overrun with illegal mining and Zuma activity. The investigating officer telling us that he is believed to have been involved in illegal mining activities and so forth. But a young man, illegally in the country, and now he's facing the possibility of spending life in jail.
What do we know about the connection between the shooter and the first person who was arrested, the taxi boss?
Victor Majola, the 44-year-old taxi boss, is believed to be the orchestrator of this murder. The investigating officer tells us that he's got a full confession from Armindo Pakula about his involvement and who had hired him and so forth. Man, I'm going to blow your mind a little bit. According to what we understand, 25,000 Rand was paid for the murder of Warwick Stock.
How cheap is life, eh?
Of that money, the shooter allegedly got 7,000 Rand.
Oh.
7,000 Rand to kill Warwick Stock. That is what we're hearing, and it's expected to come out in court in due course.
Sure. So is the intimation there that the shooter's going to turn against the taxi boss?
Well, given that he's allegedly provided the state with a full confession, but it's a bit odd because today he asked to apply for bail. He doesn't have private representation. He's got legal aid representation, and he did say that he wants to apply for bail. But then again,
He's in the country legally.
He's in the country illegally. So
He's
I
applying
mean,
for
that
bail.
automatically cancels his bail application unless he can prove that he has the relevant documents to prove that he's in the country legally.
Motive?
Nothing that we've heard so far come off it. I'm hoping that in the bail application, should it get that far, if he's able to present some documents to say that, look, I was given these asylum seeker documents or whatever to be in the country, that there would be a little bit more that's coming out of there in terms of what the motive would be.
Wow, 7,000 Rand for a hit on somebody like on anyone, on Warwick Stock. 7,000 Rand. So 25,000 Rand was paid. The shooter only got 7,000 Rand of that. Isn't that insane? We hear so often about the money that changes hands for these targeted assassinations, for these hits that are carried out. And it varies. It gets as high as 250,000 Rand. But when you hear something like this, 7,000 Rand for a life, it really does blow your mind. Real growth needs more than just banking, and Nedbank Commercial Banking is your growth partner. Their team of industry experts understand your business and its potential, offering insight to help you see opportunity where others see obstacles. Because when you can see what others don't, you can do what others can't. Think bigger. Think Nedbank Commercial Banking. See money differently. Nedbank is a licensed FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Imagine a holiday where the only thing on the to-do list is to enjoy yourself. With NCL, world-class dining, award-winning entertainment, and a variety of onboard experiences come as standard. So enjoying yourself is easy breezy. We sail to over 400 destinations worldwide, including Europe, the Caribbean, and beyond. Your dream cruise is calling. Visit ncl.com for the best deals or contact your travel agent today. Conditions apply. Norwegian Cruise Line. It's different out here.
Need a seat? Try 7 or 5. It's your call. Want a sunroof? Make it a panoramic. Gotta have power? How does award-winning 138 kilowatt sound? The Changan CS75 Pro is big enough for the kids, smart enough for your playlist, and stylish enough for your Friday night too. Why settle when you can have it all without compromise? The Changan CS75 Pro. Drive tomorrow's SUV today. Visit changanmotors.co.za for more.
Changan, driven to evolve.
The average person will hear their boss say, quick one, 3,476 times during their life. And it's never a quick one. In fact, it's a very long one that forces you to cancel your anniversary dinner at the restaurant with the Michelin star chef and then work through the weekend only to arrive on Monday and be told that the client has decided to go in a different direction. Life taxes you, so invest tax-free from as little as 250 Rand per month.
Coronation. Trust is earned. Coronation is an authorized FSP.
And now, it's back to Mandy Wiener on the Midday Report.
This is 702.
Let's walk the talk.
12:20 on the Midday Report today. Angus says, what's more insane is that so many of your guests tell us the illegal foreigners don't commit crime, responding there to that story about DJ Waras. Hey Mandy, Tato here. He can only serve 2 of those 10 years because retirement age looming. This is about Andy Motibi as NDPP. What's the point, and why have a whole song and dance about finding the right person, only to ignore the 3 recommendations? Ramaphosa clearly knew he was stringing us along. Also on the WhatsApp line, hi sister, about the Epstein files, the White House is cutting itself out. Trump is lying. He himself was friends with the guy. They were taking young girls together. And then, hi Mandy, afternoon. Come on everyone. I'm not surprised Jacob Zuma has been featured in the Epstein files. Really now. We'll talk about that with Rebecca Davis in a little while.
702. 702. Mandy Wiener.
Weekdays, 12 to 1 p.m.
The Department of Correctional Services has been giving an update on its festive season operations. Lots to cover there as well because of the high-profile nature of some of those people who are residing in the country's prisons. We spoke last week about Cat Matlala, Thabo Bester being moved to the super high max prison in KZN. Alpha Ramashwana, EWN reporters at that briefing for us. Alpha, good afternoon to you. Thank you very much for your time today. Capacity is a big issue for correctional services.
Good afternoon, Mandy. That's indeed correct. The Correctional Services Department and its Commissioner, Samuel Tobachale, held a media briefing outlining the outcomes of its festive season's operation. And one thing that stood out for me, Mandy, was the capacity at South Africa's prisons. Samuel Tobachale mentioning that South African prisons only have a bed capacity of about 107,000 in terms of population, so it can't exceed 107,000. But as we stand and during the festive season, prisons in South Africa had about 170 inmates all across the board. So it reflects that the Correctional Services Departments and the prisons in South Africa are severely strained. There aren't enough beds. There isn't enough space to hold all the inmates. And he says even now, after the festive season, there's still more than 170,000 inmates nationwide. So he says that there are a number of issues which also involves court processes, many arrests during the festive season, and that is why the prisons are at this moment so overburdened. Let's take a listen to what Samuel Tobachale, the Commissioner of the Correctional Service Department, had to say.
The growth in the system continues. The numbers continues to increase. And this reflects the effectiveness of the JCPS cluster, in the main, the police, prosecutions, and the courts in attending to crime. But it continues to put more weight on the correctional system in terms of the population that.
So that's the issue of capacity. Obviously, a lot of attention on Thabo Bester, Vusi, Cat Matlala as well, being high-profile prisons. What did they have to say about them?
Yeah, man, you would know that both Vusi, Cat Matlala, and Thabo Bester were transferred to the Ebongweni Super Maximum Prison, the only Super Maximum correctional facility in the country in KwaZulu-Natal. They were both moved from here in Pretoria, Hoshimampuru, and we heard Cat Matlala last week in court, his lawyers complaining that they do not believe that the transfer from Pretoria to KZN was the best decision. In fact, his lawyer mentioned that it has been extremely difficult to consult Matlala at the Ebongweni Super Maximum Correctional Facility, saying that there was a thick glass barrier in between them during consultations, and that affected audibility. They couldn't hear one another. And also the issue of traveling from KZN to Gauteng for court has been, it happened last week, and it wasn't so easy according to the lawyer. So they've asked the Gauteng High Court to intervene, and the presiding judge, Mandy, asked the Matlala's legal team to try and launch a legal bid to move him back to a Gauteng-based prison. But the Correctional Services Department is still convinced that his transfer was based on, it was legal and it was lawful and within the confines of the law. In fact, Samuel Tobachale, the Commissioner of Correctional Services Department, says that he sees nothing wrong and it was based on a risk and a threat assessment done on Cat Matlala. Let's take a listen to what it was.
The transfers of inmate Cat Matlala and Thabo Bester were informed by this security and threat analysis. I will not go into the details of such information. It is with good reason for also the safety of both inmates, apart, of course, from ensuring that the safety and security in the correctional system is not undermined by any activity that is associated with both inmates. The transfers are administered on a daily basis.
Thank you very much, Alpha Ramashwana, EWN reporter, for that update there. Speaking about Thabo Bester and Cat Matlala. Well, on the point of Cat Matlala, there's an excellent story today in News 24 from Jeff Wicks about, and you think it can't get any worse when it comes to Vusimuzi Cat Matlala. But now it turns out that Tsakani Matlala, who is his wife, scored a 3.7 million rand Ekurhuleni Metro municipality contract using a company she had controlled for just 10 days. That company, it was a shell company, was a grill. And then all of a sudden it became a learning academy and she got this contract. Jeff Wicks, News 24 investigative journalist, joining us now. Jeff, good afternoon to you. Tell us about how Cat Matlala's wife managed to cash in.
Good afternoon, Mandy. Yes, Tsakani Matlala was very fortuitous when it came to her business dealings. She was able to basically reshape the public perception of what was a restaurant into a learning academy, and all of this happened just 2 weeks before the bid window for a skills development and training tender at the Ekurhuleni Metro municipality closed. And she obviously went on to win 3.7 million rand stake in that tender. And it's worth saying that her contract with the municipality remains active. There's no impediment for them up until the closing date of July to approach this entity and ask it to train its employees.
I mean, that's wild. Okay, so this entity that won this tender, what work is it actually supposed to be doing, and is it doing that work?
Well, in terms of what the municipality is telling us, this entity, which is called Bona Vista Learning Academy, has trained nearly 1,400 municipal employees, from anything from operating a grader and a forklift to marking roads. So it's a vast array of qualifications that they offered, obviously, which the municipality played very handsomely for. But the issue in this is with the actual procurement process. And what we've highlighted is that there is no way that Tsakani Matlala would have been able to submit 3 years' worth of financial statements to show the financial stability of the entity in terms of the bid process, because if she had, those financials would reflect that of the Mokoko Grill, which is what this entity was previously called. What we saw in the companies and intellectual properties records is that this company had a complete change of face just 2 weeks before the bid window closed. Tsakani Matlala was added as a director. She remains the sole director of that entity. Its name was changed from the Mokoko Grill to Bona Vista Learning Academy, and the address where the company resides was changed to reflect the address of her mansion in the Midstream estate just outside Pretoria.
Jeff, we know that so much of Cat Matlala's operations are focused on Ekurhuleni. We've seen that at the Mdlhanga Commission as well. Are they saying anything about how this happened, or any kind of explanation, considering that this contract is still active right now?
Well, they're not saying much, save to say that the procurement process was absolutely by the book. But, this is where things get interesting. If we understand Cat Matlala's alleged network of influence at Ekurhuleni, a perfect example is his blue lights that he fitted to his car. He did that with the endorsement of Julius Mkhonazi, who was then high up in the Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department. And when we reported on his use of blue lights, and Mkhonazi fell into the crosshairs of an investigation, it's interesting to see who protected him, because he was seemingly protected by Imogen Mashazi and the head of human resources, Linda Trasheka. This contract for the skills development and training process that Tsakani Matlala won comes from Linda Trasheka's portfolio. So we'll continue to fill in the blank spaces and connect the dots, but there's much more to come on this issue.
Jeff, thank you for your continued work in exposing this. Jeff Wicks, News 24 investigative journalist, as I said, a national asset, because he continues to expose what is so evidently corruption that is taking place around Cat Matlala and his network. Go read that story in News 24 today. 12:30, time for Eyewitness News headlines.
Thanks, Mandy. Good afternoon. Police forensic analyst Captain Lawrence Makgotlwe has denied linking ballistics results from the murder of a 40-year-old engineer Armand Swart to other high-profile crimes. Makgotlwe gave details about ballistic evidence gathered at the murder scene of Swart before the Mdlhanga Commission. The man accused of killing media personality Warwick Stock, otherwise known as DJ Juarez, will remain in custody until next week. Midday Report, a 25-year-old Mozambican national, briefly appeared in the Joburg Magistrates Court this morning. And Correctional Services Department says the transfer of attempted murder accused Vusimuzi Cat Matlala to the Ebongweni Super Maximum Correctional Center was done within the confines of the law. Matlala was recently moved from Kosi Mampuru Correctional Facility in Pretoria to the Ebongweni in Kokstad following a risk assessment. Now those are the headlines. There's EWN and more at 1 or as it happens.
EWN Sport.
Good afternoon, I'm Mawanda Mateza. Stellenbosch FC have confirmed the tragic death of defender Jean-Ray Gefoor. The 20-year-old player was a member of the club's reserve team and joined from Cape Town Spurs at the start of the 2024-25 season and featured prominently as the team achieved runners-up finish in the DStv Diski Challenge last season. Gefoor reportedly drowned over the weekend. The National Department of Sport has contradicted Deputy Minister Peace Mabe's claim that South Africa would step in to host the Women's Africa Cup of Nations next month. Mabe appeared to confirm last night that the country would take over the hosting duties from Morocco, but the department has since refuted the claim, saying no formal decision had been taken. The Proteas netball team recorded their most significant result under coach Jenny van Dijk as they beat England in the third and final test to win the series 2-1. The Proteas won 65-50, a rare victory over a team ranked above them, and will give them confidence heading into the Commonwealth Games later this year. SA captain Kanyisa Chawane gave credit to her team for bouncing back after Saturday's defeat.
Today we needed to go back to the basics, but I think more than the game plan, it was the hunger to win. We went out there, the team was really hungry to win, and you could see we went for every ball. We scored, we jumped for almost everything to make sure that we put ourselves in a good position to actually take the win.
Marie Visser was named player of the series, while Owe Tungubani picked up the prize for best shooter and Tale Mate was awarded the best mid-court player. Mawanda Mateza, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
Well, at this stage in the city of Tshwane, heading through mainland Waterkloof area, there's that accident seen on the N1 northbound near Hartsfontein Road, slowing down traffic from Rigel Avenue. Otherwise, the rest of Gauteng looking pretty good. There's just slow-moving traffic, though, if you are leaving the Joburg CBD on the M2 westbound between the Crown Interchange and Main Reef Road. While in the mother city, there's a stationary vehicle on the N1 outbound approaching Blatterkloof, causing some delays. And in Grassy Park, there's also an accident scene at Victoria Road, approaching Fifth Avenue. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
After a short migration, the family arrives at the Premier Resort, rich in food, drink, and entertainment. The young, freed from classroom captivity, head straight for Kids Club and the safety of the herd. The adult male meanders to the scuba center, while the matriarch basks by the pool.
Book your resort escape to Knysna, East London, Scottborough, or Sunny Pass at premierhotels.co.za.
The Outsurance pointsmen know that every car on the road carries a story. There's a car with a work commuter. She's done this route 1,000 times. Perhaps she's daydreaming of a different job or just counting down to the weekend. The Outsurance pointsmen know it's not just another car in traffic, it's anticipation on the move. Every story's different and every story matters. That's why the Outsurance pointsmen have been doing what they do since 2005 in proud partnership with 702. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
Know a little about a lot, from headlines to horsepower, parenting to pop culture. If you stay switched on with News 24, it's time to cash in. Play the Raise Your Game quiz every day this week from 1 p.m. on 702 afternoons with Rilebogile Maboja. Answer 3 questions, stack your winnings, and walk away with up to 5,000 Rand cash. Thanks to News 24. Enter now on primemediaplus.com. The Raise Your Game quiz with News 24. Only on 702. TCs and more on primemediaplus.com.
WhatsApp Mandy
on 072 702 1702.
Hi, Mandy. No matter how much money, life is sacrosanct. there is no price for money. Thanda Mdlhanga.
Afternoon, Mandy. I think we are seeing the very same pattern repeating itself. All these immigrants committing crimes, and for some reason or some odd reason, they just cannot speak a word of English. This guy is able to take another person's life for 7,000 rands, and he can't even speak a word of English. It's just mind-boggling how comfortable immigrants are in this country, and they get away with it.
Thank you very much for those WhatsApp voice notes coming through, responding there to new detail that has emerged in the DJ Waras case. The fact that a second man appearing in court today, a 25-year-old Mozambican national, saying that he appeared in court and the state is suggesting that he was paid 25,000 rand. He only received 7,000 rand. The rest was split between the owner of the gun and another accomplice as well. 7,000 rand for a targeted assassination. Thank you very much for those WhatsApp messages. Keep sending them. 072 702 1702 072 567 1567.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener on 702 and Cape Talk is brought to you by Nedbank Commercial Banking. See money differently.
Water issues in Tshwane and Midrand. This is because a substation suffered a massive fault on Saturday, and then there's the knock-on effect with all the reservoirs being impacted. So a number of reservoirs are empty, which means there's low pressure across the system. Well, let's get an update now with Rand Water. Rand Water, of course, is not the direct supplier, but they supply to the city. Makanosi Maru is the Rand Water spokesperson. Makanosi, good afternoon to you. Tell us about the current state of the system in Tshwane and Midrand.
Good afternoon, Mindy, and good afternoon to your listeners. Mindy, we did experience a power failure on Saturday at the Palmead pumping station. We are supplied by Eskom. We get power from Eskom. So we had a challenge on Saturday. So as a result, a number of reservoirs, key reservoirs are empty as we speak. So when we talk about Palmead system, it's one of the biggest systems from the 4 booster stations that we have. So Palmead supplies City of Johannesburg, City of Tshwane, Ekurhuleni, and Madibeng. So Midrand is the one of the cities that are actually had hit with regards to the power failure that we experienced on Saturday.
What is being done to try and build up the supply in these reservoirs?
What we are currently doing, working with Joburg Water, we are trying to monitor the system. We are also adjusting to ensure that we avoid the collapse of the system. So we are really monitoring and balancing operational adjustments so that one reservoir does not go empty, completely empty. So to ensure that not one area is suffering. So it would be trying to balance between the 3 metros, so Ekurhuleni, Tshwane, and Johannesburg.
I know this is always very difficult, Makanosi, but a timeline for people who are being affected, can you give them any kind of timeline at this point?
You know what, Mindy, it's very difficult for me to say exactly maybe 3 o'clock or 5 o'clock. Some areas are recovering, but obviously at different times. So what we are trying to do, as I indicated, it's just to balance the system. We're getting feedback from our technicians and our engineers, just indicating which areas are struggling. And also we do have roaming tankers. We are being assisted by municipalities to assist communities and residents. So in terms of timelines, it's very difficult for me to say, but we are pumping at full capacity. It's just a question of ensuring that the system stabilizes.
Is there nothing that you could do to mitigate against this? I know you're saying it's an Eskom issue that caused it, but isn't there anything you can do to ensure that if the system is so big and you're so dependent on Eskom, solar or anything else that you could have done to prevent this?
Mainly for booster stations and water treatment plants, we would need a huge amount in terms of power. We use a lot of power. So we need so many solars. So what we are doing, we are coming up with a alternative energy supply. Rainwater will be communicating those plans in terms of transitional plans. So there is a plan that we are working on as an organization. So for now, we are still relying on municipalities. We're still relying on Eskom with regards to power. But it's a long-term plan that we are working on.
Makhanosi, thank you very much. Makhanosi Maru, Rand Water spokesperson, speaking to us there about the situation in Tshwane and Midrand. I'm not sure that gives you too many answers, I hate to say. No really clear timeline, an explanation maybe of what happened and what they're currently trying to do. But if you're being affected, I'm sorry. But this is the reality of a system that is broken in many, many ways.
702.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener.
Let's walk the talk.
A ballistics expert on the stand today at the Mdlhanga Commission, Captain Lawrence Mokgotlo, giving testimony. Watching that for us is Babalo Ndenze, EWN reporter. Babalo, good afternoon to you. Thanks very much for your time. Take us through the testimony of the ballistics expert.
Yes, indeed, Mandy. Captain Mokgotlo giving evidence today, focusing, almost exclusively on the ballistic results or ballistic report that was, part of that murder of Armand Swart, the engineer, in the case of mistaken identity, and the link between this murder and, an arrest of some suspects, I think 6 suspects at a Bramley, a property where these firearms and cartridges that were recovered that were used at the Armand murder. So he's been testifying about that, giving details around this evidence, saying that a lot of cartridges, for example, of an AK-47 that was used was not found. The cartridges were not found at the scene, but the evidence leaders also just reminding him that earlier evidence did say that these cartridges were found at the arrest in Bramley, which basically confirmed this link, between these two different cases or crime scenes. Also saying that, he himself was not responsible for alerting the investigating officers, because if you remember, witness B, the crime intelligence officer who testified earlier, said that this gentleman, Captain Mokgotlo, was the one who made this claim that these ballistic results from this AK-47 is linked to 18 other crimes or several other high-profile cases. And he's denying this. He says that he never made such a claim. The only link or linkage that he's aware of is the Bramley arrests, as well as the Armand Swart murder. But he was also taking the committee through what happened afterwards, where, this crime intelligence officer, witness B, wanted, this ballistic report because they were quite suspicious of him and his possible involvement in one of the cases. So they accompanied him to the office where they wanted to retrieve, this ballistic report from his computer. It was in the, late hours of the night. They wanted this information before midnight. Their superior wanted this information before midnight, and he was quite, suspicious of this urgency. And, they were heavily armed, he said. And he said at some point he feared for his safety and his family, Mandy. But let's take a listen to what else he said about this incident.
At about 2100, the group took me inside their car, and I was asked by one of the male officers if I had my office keys with me, which I confirmed I did. The officers wanted to stop by my house for me to fetch a jersey, and I refused. I refused passing by my house due to the safety concerns I had, fearing that would expose my family to the risk in the event that I was in the company of illegitimate police officers. There were 7 of us in the vehicle as we drove to Silverton.
Thank you to Babalo and Ndenze giving us an update there on that testimony from the ballistics expert at the Mdlhanga inquiry.
The outsurance pointsmen know that every car on the road carries a story. There's a car with a couple stealing glances at each other. In a week, their lives will change forever as they exchange their I-do's. The outsurance pointsmen know it's not just a car in traffic, it's a love story on the move. Every story is different and every story matters. That's why the outsurance pointsmen have been doing what they do since 2005 in proud partnership with 702. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
The Checkers Hyper Price Drop is here. Save up to 40% on deals like marinated pork spare ribs for $79.99 per kilo. Save 20 Rand. Clover bulk cheddar or Gouda cheese 800 grams. Any two for 199 Rand. Save 100 Rand. And a Morphe Richards digital microwave 20 litre for $8.99. Save 400 Rand. Deals valid until this Sunday only at Checkers Hyper.
The stage, the lights, the crowd, everything.
everything's perfect until suddenly someone slips on the dance floor. A speaker lands in the buffet. In an instant, your masterpiece is a mess. That's why Auto & General is there with Events Liability Insurance. We handle the unexpected so you don't have to. Plan the party, wow the guests, leave the rest to us. For more information on Events Liability Insurance, visit autogen.co.za. Auto & General, never not there. Auto & General is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
WhatsApp Mandy
on 072 702 1702.
On the Barnabas Tulu opposing the appointment of Advocate Mutiba, please remind us about the lines we must read in between, because who is Barnabas Tulu related to, who are his political or business connections, who are his past clients. Why would he be so interested in making sure that Advocate Mutibi is not, so please help us connect the dots. Yes, connect the dots.
Hi, Mandy, this is just annoying. I mean, really. On top of that, we're paying the rates. We're paying for this water, but there's no water. We are not warned before. This is really, really sickening. This country, it's really, really, everything is a mess. Thank you, Anonymous.
Lots of outrage about this water outage. Wendy says no excuses anymore. Kailami is suffering again and again. Dipsters, it just never stops. Lex says, Mandy, the water crisis continues and reflects just another incompetence by all levels of government. No new storage built in 30 years. It's a well-known fact that over 40% of water being lost by the incompetence of Joburg and many other municipalities. How can they say the lack of payment is the reason why there are supposed problems with water supplies? And then Wendy saying, yes, Mandy, the system is broken. Liz saying, Mandy, from Saturday to Sunday, 20 hours without electricity. We don't need tankers. Lots of outrage about the water and electricity situation.
702. Mandy Wiener.
Weekdays 12 to 1 p.m.
International headlines have been full of new information about the Epstein files. That's because new documentation has been released. And little old South Africa has got a mention, because it seems that former President Jacob Zuma had a dinner with Jeffrey Epstein. Rebecca Davis, senior journalist at Daily Maverick, has written about this. Rebecca, good afternoon to you. Thanks for your time. Tell us about what we know about Jacob Zuma and Jeffrey Epstein.
We know with reasonable certainty that they had dinner together in March of 2010 in London while Jacob Zuma was on a state visit to which he had been invited by Queen Elizabeth. He was there for only a few days. He had state banquets on his first 2 nights, and on the Friday night he appears to have attended an intimate dinner organized by somebody called Mark Lloyd. And this is somebody whose identity we're not yet quite sure of, but he apparently recurs within the Epstein files. He's a sort of elite broker and fixer for UK high society. Jeffrey Epstein appears to have been there as well, and Jeffrey Epstein invited a beautiful Russian model to join them.
Okay, so why are we interested in the fact that Jacob Zuma had dinner with Jeffrey Epstein?
For a few reasons, I think, Mandy. Okay, for a start, the Epstein files contains a lot of uncorroborated information, right? These are people phoning the police, claiming various things about Jeffrey Epstein. They may be crazy people. This is not in that category. This is in the emails. There are emails before the dinner setting out clearly what it is that Zuma will be attending, and there's an email after the dinner, email or two, confirming that it happened, that Zuma was very impressive, etc. So this is beyond the realm of, speculation. This definitely happened. The question is why it happened, of course, and we haven't
why would
speculated.
Jacob Zuma want to have dinner with Jeffrey Epstein?
Well, that is the question, given particularly that he was in England for such a short period of time on that trip, given that he could presumably have been dining with any number of important UK diplomats or politicians, he would choose Jeffrey Epstein. I think it is less confusing about why Jeffrey Epstein would want to have dinner with Jacob Zuma, and that is because he seems to have been an inveterate networker. It's basically what he spent his whole time doing, meeting people, noting down their details, etc., in case they could in future be useful to him. We know that Epstein was very interested in South Africa. He seems to have liked it a lot. He seems to have liked South African women. We see from the files that he was paying money into South African bank accounts. So perhaps it would be of use for him to make connections with the sitting president of the time in case anything happened on that side. But I do It's also worth mentioning, Mandy, that to the best of my knowledge, and I've been researching, Zuma is the only sitting head of state who appears to have socialized with Jeffrey Epstein during his tenure as president. We've had former heads of state like Bill Clinton. We had the former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak. They hung out with Epstein. But there is no other president at the time who appears in these files, as far as we know, other than Zuma. So it is a very, very unusual thing to have happened. And the question is, what was in it for Zuma?
Claim to fame for Jacob Zuma. Rebecca Davis, thank you so much. Senior journalist at Daily Maverick, speaking to us there about South Africa's association with Epstein, Jeffrey Epstein. Why would Jacob Zuma want to have dinner with Jeffrey Epstein?
702, the Midday Report, Monday to Friday.
12 to 1 p.m.
You can answer that question all on your own. Well, let's talk about something a bit different now. The Mdlhanga Crisis Committee has raised concerns about work that is being done on the Wild Coast Highway, the N2 in the Wild Coast project. And that's because they're saying that a contractor employed by SANRAL has been accused of destroying hectares of the Pondoland pincushion, which is on their highly endangered list. Well, let's find out more about this with Mdlhanga Commission, who's an environmental activist. Mdlhanga, good afternoon to you. Thanks very much for your time. We know that this work is being done on the Mtentu Bridge, the N2 SANRAL project. But what has been established about what has been damaged here?
Yes. Thank you so much for inviting me, and greetings to all the listeners. Since the N2 toll road started, we were raising quite a lot of concerns that it's environmental issues, because since we started, we just says that the N2 toll road where they want to build, where SANRAL, the route has been finalized, it's in a critical biodiversity area. It means that there will be a lot of environmental degradation. Now, we were requesting SANRAL that can they move a little bit the route to the inland in order to protect or to preserve the biodiversity along the coast. But all that, it was quite difficult for SANRAL to say that the request for the community is important. But the bridge, because the construction is at the Mtentu Bridge at the moment, there is no building in the inland. But where the bridge has already been started, the construction. Also, we have quite a lot of concerns and questions. Where are the plants, the endemic plants of Pondoland that have been taken during the construction? Because as we speak, there is no nursery around our community. We don't even know where the plants. But at the same point, SANRAL invited people that they must be part of the biodiversity offset, which is something that is a program that is also try to replace or to fix where the damage has been done. But also they hired a contractor from Amtata to work on that biodiversity offset. Now, what we've been discovered, our endangered species, which is a Pondoland pincushion, it's been cut down, which is something that all of us, we were worried. And it shows that SANRAL is not having a control of their own contractors, because the same situation which is at Kanyayo side, where the wetlands, where the springs were just being used as a dumping place. And we write that report, we write to Department of Environmental Affairs, we write to everyone that this is a very, very a big crime that is happening in the presence of SANRAL's contractors.
Yeah. Well, Mdlhanga, thank you very much for raising the alarm on this. Mdlhanga Commission, environmental activist, speaking there about the N2 Wild Coast project for so long, sparking protests, also concerns about assassinations around the Mdlhanga Crisis Committee as well, something we'll keep shining a spotlight on.
On average, you'll spend 83,200 hours working. That's 3,466 days. 20% of that time will be spent in meetings that should have been emails. 10% spent aligning on the misalignment the previous meeting caused. And the rest of the time, waiting for your laptop to update so you can resend that extremely urgent presentation due yesterday because your boss forgot to download it 2 weeks ago. And now, the link has expired. Oh, life texts you So invest tax-free from as little as 250 Rand per month.
Coronation. Trust is earned. Coronation is an authorized FSP.
To walk the talk is to turn words into meaningful actions. And it's what we at 702 are committed to doing every day. We're also committed to following the rules set out by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission's Code of Conduct. To give you balanced programming, fair comment, and accurate news. But if we stumble along the way and you feel we're not living up to the code, let us know on comment@702.co.za. And if after that you're still not happy, you can direct your complaint in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission, PO Box 412365, Craig Hall 2024. For more, visit bccsa.co.za.
Sports Wrap.
Sports Wrap.
On 702 and Cape Talk.
Mwanda Mateza joining us in studio to speak about the weekend. We have to start with the tennis. Carlos Alcaraz, it's just unbelievable. Djokovic had the tennis, but he didn't have the fitness.
Yeah, good afternoon, Mandy. It was always going to be a tough ask for Novak Djokovic to keep up with Carlos Alcaraz over 5 sets. In the end, it was only 4 that Alcaraz needed, and there's something about him when he turns it on, and I think we're only starting to see how good Alcaraz can still get. I think there's a couple more levels that he's yet to unlock, and I think we also saw a bit of that in the semi-finals. I think, funnily enough, the semi-finals were a lot more entertaining and exciting than the final yesterday.
I think predictably, in a way, the final wasn't quite as exciting as
Yeah,
it could
no,
have been.
100%. I think also the two players gave it their all in Friday's semi-finals, also considering, the injuries and the like that had happened to them. That final yesterday was never going to be as high a quality spectacle as the semi-finals on Friday.
On the WhatsApp line, Midday, if Arsenal don't take the EPL title, then I don't know. Man City and Aston Villa is giving the title for free to them by dropping points every weekend.
There's still 14 games to go. I don't think anybody's won or wrapped up the title at such an early stage in the season. And again, this season has been absolutely unpredictable. Anybody can beat anybody else on any day. Arsenal have shown themselves that on any given day, they can put in a bozo performance as well. And I say this as a fan as well. I'm not all the way 100% confident. I will be on the final day of the season. That's the only time.
Okay. The Sharks and Bulls back in playoff contention in the URC.
Yeah, some surprising results over there, especially considering the way that the Stormers performed against the Sharks out in Durban. You did expect that they'd put up a much stiffer contest after losing in Cape Town the week before, but that wasn't to be. And there's some errors and sloppy play that has crept into the Stormers' performances of late. But for the Bulls, I think that was a remarkable turnaround that they've completed. Now they've won 3 matches in a row after a horrible run of form where they lost 7 in a row from October until earlier in January. But yeah, 52 points, putting up 52 points against the Lions is no mean feat. And I do think that with them all competing for the places in the playoffs, I think South African rugby is in a really, really good place in the URC at the moment, and long may it continue.
And well done to Jenny van Dijk and the Proteas netball team.
I did not see that result coming, especially also considering that they'd lost the second match by 12 goals. And then to put in a performance like they did in the third and final test. Also considering that Jenny van Dijk, I mean, she's had a lot of time to prepare her team as well, but there were a couple of players who were making their first appearances for South Africa. And against England at that, a side that is higher ranked than South Africa, it isn't something that happens quite often. But yeah, it does look like as well that South African netball is in a good place as well, turning the corner and possibly competing as well for the top 4 places at the Commonwealth Games.
Mwande, as always, thank you very much. Mwande Mateza having a look at the weekend sport.
702, the Midday Report, Monday to Friday.
12 to 1 p.m.
Thank you very much for joining us today. The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener on 702 and Cape Talk was brought to you by Nedbank Commercial Banking. Think bigger, think Nedbank Commercial Banking. It's 1 o'clock.
This is EWN.
Forensic analyst denies a link between ballistics in engineer's murder and high-profile crimes, and Trump threatens legal action against Trevor Noah over controversial comments.